Murphy at Murtech.com with your daily news update. Okay, here we are on June the 18th in the year of our Lord 2026, and I've got some great information for you tonight. So let's jump over here, click on my Murtech on Rumble link, and this is my Rumble channel right here. This is the video we're going over tonight, my live stream, episode 1952. Let's jump in here. Want to pause that out. And hi, Susie Pohl. 2016. Thank you for joining us. Let me close this out. I'll get back with you here and click the show more button to expand out the description box. We have information from ACLJ Sekulow, Matt Morse TV, Dr. Steve Turley, and Wendy Bell Radio. But before we get into that, I do need to give some shout outs here to Natty USK 45 just started following my channel. T Baker just started following my channel. Okay, Frosty18 reposted my daily news wrap up from last night, and Debbie BS reposted my episode 1951. Debbie BS and Patio Furniture 63 and Cotton Ball 31 commented on my episode 1951. Debbie BS commented on my extra 734A and 734B and 734C. So thank you very much, folks, for reposting my videos and your comments. I enjoy reading your feedback, and I certainly appreciate your support. So let me give this a thumbs up. Alrighty, let's see what we got here. American Center for Law and Justice. We got breaking official 14-point Iran deal released, and they just read it right out here to you. So I wanted to share this so you would be updated on what the heck's going on with that.
Folks, the U.S. government just dropped the actual text of the Memorandum of Understanding expected to be signed by the U.S. and Iran this Friday, and I'm going to read the whole thing to you right here. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran and their allies in the current war, by signing this MOU, declare the immediate and permanent termination of military operations on all fronts, including in Lebanon, and undertake from now on to not initiate any war or any military operation against each other, and to refrain from the threat or use of force against each other, and ensuring the territorial integrity of sovereignty of Lebanon. The final deal will confirm the permanent termination of the war on all fronts, including in Lebanon, and other provisions of this paragraph. We're going on to point 2. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran undertake to respect each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity, and to refrain from interfering in each other's internal affairs. We're going on to paragraph 3. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran commit to negotiating and achieving the final deal in maximum 60 days, expendable with mutual consent. Meaning there that this is the Memorandum of Understanding. They expect to have a final deal 60 days from now. But as we've seen, sounds like that number may be a little bit movable. Going on to point 4, immediately upon signing of this MOU, the United States of America will begin the removal of its naval blockade and any disturbances or impediments against the Islamic Republic of Iran, and will fully end the naval blockade within 30 days. During this period, the traffic of vessels will be in proportion to the number of pre-war traffic being restored by the Islamic Republic of Iran, meaning those ships can go through the Strait of Hormuz at a level that is mirrored by what the pre-war levels were. It's not going to be all of a sudden a rush of more ships. It'll go back to the natural things. The United States of America further undertakes to remove its forces from the proximity of the Islamic Republic of Iran within 30 days after the final deal. So our military is going to still be there until at least 90 days from now. We'll see if that sticks. Point 5, upon the signing of this MOU, Islamic Republic of Iran will make arrangements using its best efforts for the safe passage of commercial vessels with no charge for 60 days, only from the Persian Gulf to the Sea of Oman and vice versa. The traffic of commercial vessels will immediately start. And considering the need for removing the technical and military obstacles and demining by the Islamic Republic of Iran will be instated within 30 days. The Islamic Republic of Iran will continue dialogue with the Sultanate of Oman to define the future administration and maritime services in the Strait of Hormuz in discussion with other Persian Gulf or Gulf states, in line with the applicable international law and the sovereign rights of coastal states of the Strait of Hormuz. What is interesting here is that it's saying no charge for 60 days, and then there will be some sort of future administration, maybe in conjunction with Iran and Oman. That could be a sticking point for some people. We're saying that now, could there be tolls in the Strait of Hormuz? Let's hope not. Point 6. The United States of America undertakes with regional partners to develop a definitive, mutually agreed plan with at least $300 billion of US dollars for the reconstruction and economic development of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The mechanism for the implementation of this plan will be finalized as a part of a final deal within 60 days. All required licenses, waivers, and permissions need that sticking point that many people in the media were saying the Islamic Republic of Iran. When you read it here, it is very clear that this will be some sort of private funding, private development deal going in to the Islamic Republic, especially because the U.S. has to grant licenses, waivers, etc., because of all the sanctions. We're not going to charge ourselves sanctions on our own money if we are just sending $300 billion. Very clear, it's not what the media reported, but it's an interesting point nonetheless. Point 7, the United States of America undertakes to terminate all types of sanctions against the Islamic Republic of Iran, including the UN Security Council resolutions, i.e., a Board of Governors resolutions, and all unilateral U.S. sanctions, secondary, in an agreed-upon schedule as a part of a final deal. The Islamic Republic of Iran and the United States of America acknowledge the critical importance of the sanctions termination issue above mentioned and express their intentions to immediately address these issues in the negotiations in order to achieve mutual agreement on them, to paragraph 8. We'll get to that in a minute. The Islamic Republic of Iran reaffirms that it shall not procure or develop nuclear weapons. The United States of America and Islamic Republic of Iran have agreed to resolve the disposition of stockpile enriched material pursuant to a mechanism that will be mutually agreed upon in accordance with the schedule mentioned in paragraph 7, with the minimum methodology to be downblending on site under the supervision of the IAEA. What does that say? It says the United States will be working to remove sanctions. Why is that? Well, a lot of these sanctions had to do with their nuclear program. Okay? They agree to that. The Islamic Republic is saying that they will immediately address these issues, that they agree that they will not procure or develop nuclear weapons. Very important. Not just make their own, but they will not buy one from someone else, and that enriched material, they will find a way to dispose of, the disposition of that material. All of these things are going to be hammered out in the final deal in 60 days of what that timeline and who does what, when, and where. But they have come to the agreement in this framework, and it all hangs on the sanctions. But those sanctions at the same time will be moving forward in a schedule that they agree upon as they negotiate this out. It's not an immediate termination of sanctions. Paragraph 8, the two parties also agreed to discuss the issue of enrichment and other mutually agreed matters related to the Islamic Republic of Iran's nuclear needs based on a satisfactory framework being agreed upon in the final deal. The final deal will confirm the provisions of this paragraph. The United States of America and Islamic Republic of Iran acknowledge the critical importance of the nuclear issues above mentioned and express their intention to immediately address these issues in the negotiations in order to achieve mutual agreement on them. What is that telling you? It said that they haven't figured out yet what the future of an Iranian enrichment program looks like. We know the lies that Iran has told, that they need it for medical isotopes, that they need it for research, etc. We know they also have used none of their enriched material for any of those civilian purposes to date. They get that enriched uranium from other countries, namely Russia. We'll see what gets hammered out in the details here, but this is a big sticking point, point 8, to the final deal actually happening. We'll see what happens there. Point 9, pending the final deal, the United States of America and Islamic Republic of Iran agree to maintain the status quo. The Islamic Republic of Iran will maintain the current status quo of its nuclear program, and the United States of America will not impose any new sanctions and will not deploy additional forces to the region. Now, that key there is pending final deal, that everything is status quo. And what is status quo right now? Their nuclear facilities buried under rubble from U.S. bombs. But also, we're not going to try and put new sanctions on them. This is just keeping everything as it is for 60 days minimum, starting Friday. Point 10, the United States of America undertakes that immediately upon signing the MOU, until the termination of sanctions, U.S. Department of Treasury will issue waivers for the export of Iranian crude oil, petroleum products, and derivatives, and all associated services, including banking transactions, insurances, transportation, etc. What is that? That is actually something that was reported on that could be happening. That is where, while a lot of our sanctions remain in place, specifically so they can start to make some money of their own, the sanctions that hit their oil industry will be overlooked. They will be waived. It's not taking them away per se, that if for some reason this falls, they snap right back into place because they still exist. It's just saying there's waivers so that they can make some revenue as they try to build towards a final deal. Point 11, the United States of America undertakes to make fully available for use the frozen or restricted funds and assets of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Upon the implementation of this MOU, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran will mutually agree on the procedures related to the release of these funds during the negotiations. Such funds, whether retained in the original account or transferred, shall be made fully usable for payment to any ultimate beneficiary designated by the Central Bank of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The United States undertakes to issue all necessary licenses and authorizations accordingly. What you're going to see is a bunch of headlines flow from that point that say America gives $30 billion to Iran or $10 billion. They're going to be able to write as many headlines. All that is saying that assets that have been frozen under all of this framework, they will then be able to access their money in those accounts. So be careful when you read headlines that say, we're giving money, we're giving money. As of yet, I've seen nothing in here that says taxpayer dollars go to Iran in any shape or fashion. Point 12, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran agree that an executive mechanism will be established to monitor the successful implementation of this MOU and the future compliance of a final deal. All that's saying is that they're going to sign it, but then they're going to check their work and make sure that everyone is living up to their end of the deal. 13, after signing this MOU and subject to the beginning of the implementation of paragraphs 1, 4, 5, 10, and 11 of the MOU, annual implementation on the other paragraphs. So as soon as they sign it, they're getting to work on those negotiations for a final deal. And finally, 14, the final deal will be endorsed by a binding UN Security Council resolution, meaning very similar to any other type of agreement like this. The UN will sign off on it saying we give our stamp of approval, etc. Folks, there's a lot to dig in. I wanted you to hear word for word. So you're not just reading headlines, not seeing what people are trying to spin it. That is what the text of the Memorandum of Understanding is. Now, there's going to be a lot to dissect on future broadcasts, so make sure you subscribe to this channel and like and stay tuned so you will hear our take on it in future broadcasts.
All right, there you have it, folks. I wanted you to hear that. And again, you're gonna hear all kinds of bullshit from the mainstream media. The big thing is, will the Iranians live up to the agreement, okay? Uh, they have a record of not necessarily being the most trustworthy people that the United States has ever dealt with. Okay, clicking on the Rumble link takes us over here to American Center for Law and Justice. This is the video I just shared with you. I've given them a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's jump back here. And it looks like Viper Senior and Cottonball 31 and Susie Pole 2016 and Debbie BS has joined us there in the chat. Anybody else feel like jumping in? Come on in. The water's fine. All right, Matt Morris. Now it all makes sense. Okay, well, let's check it out and see what makes sense to him.
Ladies and gentlemen, the nuclear dust, as it is called, the Iranian regime's highly enriched weapons-grade uranium. That, I'll tell you the truth, is really what all of this is about. And actually, on that note, talking about this nuclear dust, President Trump earlier this morning, while speaking at the G7 summit over in Europe, just this morning, actually gave all of us a very curious update, really giving all of us a little bit of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And I'll tell you exactly what I mean by that. But folks, we're going to break all of this down. But first, do me a favor, make sure to hit that like button, make sure to subscribe and follow. Check out the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But to really kick this off, ladies and gentlemen, I need to give you the entire context. President Trump earlier this morning over in Europe gave us all some massive updates about where things currently stand with this memorandum that we're about to sign, or that actually has now been signed. So we're going to break that down, and then we're going to talk about this very curious update about the Iranian regime's nuclear dust. First off, take a listen to this.
No president in history has ever been tougher on Iran than I have, and they know that. And by the way, if they don't honor the agreement, or some things aren't even mentioned in the agreement, it's a memorandum of understanding, but we have an understanding of certain things without writing it. And if they don't honor that, we'll probably go back to bombing them until they honor it. You know, it's amazing what bombs can do.
So even though we have a memorandum of understanding, it's a 60-day memorandum, at the end of which, if we don't have our deal, if they don't do what we say, then we're just going to keep on bombing them. President Trump then said this.
When I say permanently, it should be permanently. But if it's not permanently, we will bomb them. They will be bombed, just like I bombed them on Wednesday night and Tuesday night, and was going to bomb them on Thursday night at a level that was 3 times greater, and they knew that. I will bomb them. Now, that's with me as president. If you have a weak, pathetic president, maybe that doesn't happen, but I can only do the job that I have to do. I have a long time to go. I have almost 3 years, close to 3 years. Time is going fast. But our country's become we're the most respected country in the world.
Once again, Trump could not be more clear. Listen, if the Iranian regime, if they renege on their agreement, if they go back on their end of this agreement, then seems like the Tomahawk missiles and the B-2 Spirit stealth bombers are going back up in the air.
But every administration for decades has sought to get Iran to relinquish its nuclear ambitions, but the threat only got bigger. The words got bigger and bigger and stronger and bigger, and nothing ever happened. And Iran got stronger and tougher. If we didn't blow them up the first time and then blow out those weapons, they would have been unstoppable. This should have done what I'm doing, and what I did should have been done years ago. Would have been much easier, much less firepower. But it wasn't.
Well, he's totally right. As we know, this is what we've heard from the Trump administration, really the entire U.S. intelligence. Really, I think everybody just knows this, is that the reason why the situation is so complex now in 2026 is because previous U.S. presidential administrations, and really the entire world, has just kind of been kicking the can down the road for a very long time, ignoring the Iranian regime, hoping they'll go away, hoping they'll stop engaging in the behavior they've been engaging in. But it's only gotten worse. And so the Trump administration here determined that, listen, if we don't stop them now, their plan is this: to keep on building out bunkers and missile silos and rocket launchers and ballistic missiles and suicide drones, all of this stuff, to entrench themselves so deeply, build out, their navy and naval mine boats and vessels, all of this stuff. They're entrenching themselves so that then they'll be able to sort of develop a nuclear weapon behind that shield. They'll become so powerful, so entrenched, so embunkered, so well armed that maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, we won't be able to stop them. Okay, and you've seen it's a struggle already. So that's where Trump said. Then he also said this. I want to share this with you.
You've been clear, President Trump, the United States is not going to directly pay Iran, but the U.S. is going to let the Iranians start making billions of dollars, selling oil, accessing this reconstruction fund.
Only if they're doing things right. Only if we're not doing anything. We're not putting up money. Only if they're doing things right. If they're doing things right, if people want to invest, they can invest. But they had this $300 million fund. It's only $300 billion fund. It's only if they're doing things right. Remember this also. When you talk about billions of dollars, they've had much more than $1 trillion worth of damage done. They got a long way. There'll be 15 to 20 years to rebuild what they have right now. So they have to behave themselves. If they're not behaving, they get hit again. You know, they'll be hit again because we can do it very easily. It's going to take a long way for them to build back their anti-aircraft.
So Trump just said something massive. We have done over $1 trillion worth of damage to Iran. We've blown up God knows how much of their energy infrastructure, oil facilities, all types, naval yards, dockyards, piping, all of this stuff, infrastructure all over the place. He also says, listen, there's been this fake news that the U.S. is going to be paying. Have you heard that? That the U.S. is going to be giving the Iranian regime $300 billion. You're hearing this from, I don't know, the Panikins, people that seems like they want the war to continue. They're trying to undermine, people that are trying to undermine President Trump's negotiation here. Fact of the matter is, Trump has really gotten everything he wanted. Seriously, we have. Shut down the proxy support, shut down the Iranian terror proxies in the region, reopen the Hormuz, shut down the nuclear program, and also get a hold of the nuclear dust. President Trump spoke about the nuclear dust here, but first, it's also worth clarifying, listen, not only are we not paying anything to the Iranian regime, where does this money come from potentially? Maybe if they behave, only if they behave, it's by nature of unfreezing their own assets that we have frozen, and also just standing back and allowing them to sell oil if they behave. And then who knows, maybe other countries are going to invest in Iran to try to build up their economy and make some money along the way. That's what this $300 billion looks like. But folks, this is where we talk about the nuclear dust, the enriched uranium. Take a listen to this.
They'll work closely with us to turn over the so-called enriched material that's very deep in the bowels of the earth, very deep. Nobody can get it. So it's not important that we do it quickly, but we could do it fairly quickly. When we have a chance, we'll do it. But in the meantime, we have cameras on every inch of it. Nobody can do it. And if they do, we'll hit them with Patriots. That's all. And they'll be gone. And they know that. Technical discussions on the removal of all stockpiles of enriched materials will begin immediately. We're going to start that immediately.
Wow.
And unlike Barack Hussein Obama, who sent Iran pallets of cash and any relief they receive under this deal, they'll have to get based on merit. And it won't be from us. We don't have to give them anything.
There you have it. And so that's what he says about the enriched uranium. He says, we're going to start those negotiations. We are going to get it. And that is what we're talking about now that we have this memorandum. And so here's what I want to say. Well, some people on the internet, various talking heads, talk show hosts, whatever, are at each other's throats over the hyper-specific granular details of this memorandum as if they've got, a better grip on this situation than President Trump? I don't think so. Personally, I'm ecstatic because I can see what's really going on here. And I'll tell you what it is. Barack Hussein Obama and all of his co-conspirators, all of his handlers, all of his financiers, they right now are not only terrified, not only are they panicking, they know that they are absolutely screwed. Why? Let's break it down. The Iranian regime's highly enriched uranium, otherwise known as the nuclear dust, is pretty much the key here that unlocks everything. As many of you know, uranium as an element, it carries an isotopic signature, if you want to be a little bit scientific here, that can actually be tracked and traced directly back to its very specific geographic origin anywhere on the face of the planet. Did it come from Russia? We will know. Did the Iranian regime's uranium come from China? We will know. Did it come from inside of Iran? We will know. Did it come from the United States of America, perhaps? We will know, as a matter of fact. And so once we get a hold of the Iranian regime's uranium, we will know exactly where it came from originally. Okay, well, why is that such a big deal? Who cares where it came from? Well, a little bit of a history throwback here. First off, flashback to June 7th, 2026. That's just 9 days ago. President Trump said that Iran, quote, got all of its uranium during Obama, end quote. And also pertaining to this uranium, even more curiously, President Trump said, quote, Obama picked the wrong country, end quote. Wow. Folks, it sure seems to me like President Trump is suggesting that someone supplied the Iranian regime with American uranium during the Obama administration. That's kind of what it sounds like, right? Well, is that even possible? Well, it doesn't exactly take a lot of detective work to figure out that Trump is almost positively referring to the now infamous, terrible Uranium One deal. You might remember that. It took place all the way back in 2010, which Trump has very publicly called out numerous times in the past. In fact, in the past, calling out Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama for giving 20% of our American uranium to Russia, allegedly under agreement that the Russians would then give much of that uranium to the Iranian regime, and that Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton knew about all of it, that it was a backdoor, closed door, secret agreement that was made. So here's the deal. If any uranium in Iran is found to have originated from the United States of America, as Trump has hinted here, Obama, Hillary, and perhaps the entire Obama administration, they would be guilty of treason, honestly, for supplying WMDs or ingredients uranium with which to make WMDs to the Iranian regime. There's also no way that a crime like this, a crime of this magnitude, could be tried in some sort of civilian court. No, it would have to be handled by the military, via a military tribunal, of course. So that is what is at stake here. That is why the uranium is so important. And that is why Trump's main focus throughout this entire conflict, this entire endeavor, this entire time, has been focused on getting his hands on that uranium. Folks, if we can get a hold of this uranium, the entire house of cards comes crashing down. As for how many Iranian assets get unfrozen, or how much money Saudi Arabia invests in the Iranian infrastructure rebuilding process, frankly, I couldn't really care less, to be honest with you. If we can get a hold of that uranium, I'm telling you folks, all of these other problems, all of these other little details are going to take care of themselves. So I'm with President Trump. I defer to his judgment here, and it seems to me like he has really one clear agenda in mind. Do whatever it takes to get that uranium, bring it back home, analyze it, figure out where it came from, and then start solving some of the other problems. After we've identified and solved that problem first, there's really no bigger problem than that. And I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, solving that specific problem, the mystery of this uranium, that is really what it's going to take if we truly want to put America first.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and end it there because it is ended. It's got like a half a second to go. Now, it would be a horrible thing if the uranium did come from the United States. It was the Hillary deal and the Obama deal that would have allowed that to happen, where Hillary sold like 20% of our uranium stockpile to Europe and Asia. But Okay, so it happened. I do not think that Obama would be held accountable with this government the way it is. Unfortunately, it's going to take more than three years, 2.5 years, for this molasses to get cleaned up in Washington D.C. I hope whoever takes over after Donald Trump has the same intentions that he does in draining the swamp. Let me click on the Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from Matt Morse TV. This is the video I shared with you. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here and check down. See what else we got here from Dr. Steve Turley. Polling nightmare as Democrats panic over midterms. Well, that sounds like good news. Let's see what Dr. Steve has to say.
Off right. All right, let's dive right in here. The Economist YouGov poll just released their latest numbers for the congressional generic ballot, and the results are frankly a political disaster for the Democrats. So just to put it in context, back in February of this year, the Economist YouGov had Democrats up by 7 points on the generic ballot. 7. The blue wave was coming, they said. By May, that lead had shrunk to 5 points. Now, in the latest poll conducted June 13th through the 15th of 1,400 registered voters, Democrats are up by only 2 points. It's Democrats 46 to Republicans 44. That's a 5-point swing toward Republicans in just 4 months. 5 points. And it's not just the Economist YouGov. It's happening across the board. So much so that even CNN is being forced to sound the alarm.
And Harry, we've been talking about this. As time goes on, you and I have kept on looking at these numbers saying it just doesn't look like the numbers we've seen when there have been waves for Democrats in the past. What are the trends in the other poll?
Yeah, okay, so this is not just one poll in which we are seeing this. There is this group of pollsters that are out there that are just not showing the wave you might expect given where the president's approval rating is. Okay, what are we talking about? We're talking about NBC, Marquette University Law School, and Ipsos. Look at where they were January and February, and look at where they are May and June. NBC, down a point. MU Law, down 3 points. Ipsos, basically staying the same. So the Democrats hold these leads, but again, you have this group of pollsters that are out there where this lead, simply put, is not matching what you might expect if you're expecting a Democratic wave.
Translation, there is no blue wave. It's simply not there. CNN is admitting it. It's not when you look at the polling aggregate, not when you look at YouGov, NBC, Marquette, Ipsos, it's not there. In fact, it's the opposite. Across the entire polling universe, the trend is identical. The Democrats' lead is collapsing, and it's collapsing fast. Now, it actually gets worse. These numbers are just the tip of the iceberg. If you've been with this channel now over the years through a couple of election cycles, and by the way, if not, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. But if you've been with me, say, in the last election cycle or the last couple election cycles, you recall that there's something called a summer response bias for Democrats. Do you remember that? We talked about this, well, I guess so at this time 2 years ago, right, in 2024, when Trump's poll numbers started taking a dip. It was very noticeable in July and August, and I was telling you, don't worry, that's a classic response bias. Bottom line, historically, and every legacy outlet knows this, by the way, they just don't tell you. And by the way, frankly, I think this is why they're freaking out right now. But historically, Republican polling drops during the summer and Democrat polling gets a bump. And that's because basically Republicans have lives. They have families. They go on vacation. They drop out of politics during the summer months. They're psychologically healthier. Whereas Democrats are these, I'm sorry, I know JD kind of did a mea culpa with that, but Democrats are these cat ladies living alone in their apartments, counting down the seconds to when they get to go to the next No Kings protest. So Democrats tend to get a bump in the summer months and Republicans tend to dip. For example, we saw that most explicitly around the time, actually this time back in 2022 in June, of 2022, when the Dobbs decision came out, when the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, Democrats got a massive bump that lasted right through the summer. But now, same time, June. I mean, you saw the polls. Where's the bump? They're up 2, 3, low single digits. There is no summer bump. It's simply not there. And you just, historically speaking, in terms of the past being precedent, you got to understand how catastrophic that is. Because again, historically, Democrat numbers are always higher in the summer than they are ultimately on election day in November. So if they're only up by 2 or 3 in June, what does that say for November? So basically, the Democrats were counting on a massive surge, a double-digit lead in the summer that would give them the breathing room they needed for the margin to shrink but still dominate in November. But they're not getting it. They're not getting the bump. And that is a massive, massive warning sign for the Democrats. So what's driving this Republican recovery? Well, bottom line, gas prices, they are still too high for sure, but they are actually lower than they were in 2022 in the last midterms. And this YouGov poll was conducted during the time Trump announced the peace deal with Iran that permanently opens the Strait of Hormuz, gets the oil flowing. And gang, in the end, that's the ultimate standard that voters are going to judge this whole operation by with Iran. Not by neocon talking points, not by doomer podcaster tantrums. Bottom line, did that operation contribute to my bottom line? Did it make my gas prices lower? Did it make energy cheaper? Did it make the cost of living cheaper? If yes, thumbs up. No screed from Karl Rove or Tucker Carlson is going to change that. And it looks as if that cautious optimism is already breaking through among voters. And the public is just seeing gas prices going down. They're seeing a foreign policy win. They're seeing the economy surging. They're seeing the big America 250 celebrations, the World Cup excitement. And they're like, this is cool. I like this. Let's keep this going. But like I said, this polling is just the tip of the iceberg. There's more. And the news gets even worse for the Democrats. But first, right now, an estimated 31 million Americans.
Okay, let's get it past this commercial here.
Nation, the body simply aren't. That today you can try and give them a call now. It's how they're polled. 597-0233. That's 888-597-0233. Now, the real nightmare here for the Democrats is how their paltry lead in the generic ballot compares to the daunting, newly redistricted congressional map. So what you're seeing here are the 3 major congressional projection models. And you'll notice all of them, all 3 have the Republicans beating the Democrats going into November. So you got crystal ball with Republicans have 213 safe or leaning seats. Democrats at 206 with 16 toss-ups. Inside elections has the Republicans at a safe 217. Remember, they only need 218 to keep their majority. They've got a safe 217 with Democrats at 204 with 14 toss-ups. And Cook has the Republicans at 212, Democrats at 205 with 18 toss-ups. So what you have to get here is that if we were looking at this map back in 2018, the last time Democrats took control of the House, that map would be inverted. The Democrats were up with a safe 210 seats. The Republicans are down with a safe 195 seats with 30 toss-ups. And the Democrats did not sweep those toss-ups. The Republicans picked up plenty of those toss-up seats. So again, what the Democrats would need here, if there were any hope of significant gains, is they would need to have a super duper double-digit lead in the generic ballot to guarantee that they'll win the vast majority of the toss-ups, possibly even flip some of the lean red seats, which even if they did, again, according to Inside Elections forecasts, the Republicans just need 1 toss-up seat to retain their majority at 218. The Democrats are simply in a bad position. In the end, Democrats need to gain seats. Republicans just need to not lose them. That's the calculus right now. And it's clearly favoring the Republicans as we speak. Here's yet another indicator how things are going. Voter registration. Again, if you've been with this channel now for some months, you know we've been following this very closely, as has the great historian Larry Schweikert. In the 30 states that track voter registration by party affiliation, Republicans are dominating in all 30. And I mean dominating not just for months, we're talking now for years. NBC News has reported that Republicans have reduced the long-standing Democrat registration advantage by over 1 million voters just since the 2024 elections alone. 1 million. And it's happening across the board. Look at what the National Republican Congressional Committee found when they analyzed 28 of the most competitive House districts in the country. Look at this. So after the 2020 election, Democrats had a 733,000 voter registration edge over Republicans in those districts, in those toss-up districts. Fast forward to today, they have lost all 733,000 of those voters. Republicans now actually have a small advantage. That's an almost 800,000 voter swing in the most competitive districts in America towards the GOP. That is what voter registration outreach efforts get you. Thank you very much, Scott Pressler. And keep in mind, voter registration is one of the most accurate predictive indicators for how people actually vote. They're not as volatile as poll numbers that can swing 5 points in a month. These are real human beings who walked into a government office or went online and they officially declared their allegiance to, in this case, the Republican Party. And that's the most accurate predictor for how they're going to vote. And as if things couldn't possibly get worse for the Democrats, lo and behold, the Republicans are swimming in cash while the Democrats are wallowing in debt. The Republican National Committee entered this spring with $109 million cash on hand, while the DNC had just $15 million, but they were already $17 million in outstanding debt. I mean, seriously, you couldn't script this better. But that's just the party committees. When you add in the full Republican ecosystem, the RNC, the NRCC, the NRSC, allied super PACs like the Congressional Leadership Fund, and most importantly, Trump's MAGA Inc. super PAC, Republicans have upwards of $1 billion available to defend seats, expand the map, and go on offense. Republicans can defend every single vulnerable incumbent and flood marginal seats with cash to flip them. Democrats have to make agonizing choices about which races to fund and which ones to abandon. That is not a position you want to be going in going into the most consequential midterms in a generation. So let's bring this all together. The Economist YouGov has Democrats' lead down to just 2 points, a 5-point collapse in 4 months, with NBC, Marquette, and Ipsos all showing the same trend. The summer bump the Democrats always count on is simply not materializing. CNN's own Harry Anton compared this to 2018-2006, found it doesn't come close. The House redistricting already gives Republicans a clear path to holding the majority. The voter registration numbers in the 30 states that track party affiliation show Republicans flipping nearly 1 million voters in the most competitive districts in America. And the Republican war chest is filled with $1 billion ready to deploy, while Democrats are literally wallowing in debt. The legacy media will still keep desperately trying to tell you that the blue wave is coming. But the data, the real data, not the narrative, says something very different. And it says the Democrats have every reason to panic. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below.
All right. Yep. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. I mean, this is utterly amazing.
Edge
Let me
over.
click on the Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from Dr. Steve Turley. This is the video I shared with you. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. And, you know, folks, I've been telling you for years, actually, that if the voter fraud is contained, I don't see how the Democrats can have an advantage anywhere but other than like California, New York, and Chicago, places like that, Detroit. But the fraud, is the big thing. Trump is trying. Now you got John Thune in the office that's, I guess, just sucking his thumb or something else. I don't know, but he's definitely not doing his job. I do not get it. Unless they are part of the fraud. They use this fraud to keep their own seats. They probably don't need to. But, that's the swamp for you. Rhinos, crooked politicians. Man, it's going to be interesting, this upcoming election. If you can keep the fraud at a minimum, the Democrats don't have a chance. All right, let's see what Wendy Bell has to say. Let's jump back over here. And the Linchpin. Now, folks, if you watch my videos on a fairly regular basis, there's times where I run into some technical difficulties. Well, Wendy and Brock have been doing this for years. I mean, she was on radio. Brock has been like the producer or engineer behind the scenes for decades. They ran into a little snafu today, so it's not just me. But let's get into this because she's got lots of good things to say. You won't be able to see her, but you will be able to hear her.
If there's one thing that's got to madden the left, it is that their party, the Democratic Party, is being severely fractured. There is this small fringe group that's getting bigger and louder and more annoying and extraordinarily more dangerous. This progressive Democrat socialist nonsense, which is code for full all-out communism, make no mistake about it, is completely turning the Democrat Party into a fractured figment of what it once was. And now you've got pretty moderate people, Democrats, who don't like Donald Trump, right? None of them like Trump, I don't believe. But they're looking at their options, then they're like, what the bejeebers is going on? Now on the right, you got conservatives, you've got Republicans. And I don't really think there's gradations of that would make it extreme MAGA Republicans on the right. Like if you're an extreme Make America Great Again conservative, you fit in everywhere, right? 90% of the Republicans are down with what this president is doing. 95%, whatever it is. We are solid. We're in lockstep. We voted in the landslide. We wanted change. We saw where the country was going. We understood what January 6th was. We understood all the election nightmare. We knew that Joe Biden was not fit or coherent to be president. All of that was obvious, and we've literally just been watching what's been going on. Well, if you want to gauge the health of the Democratic Party, you have to take a look at Los Angeles. And I want to read you this, 7eyewitnessnews.com. The Los Angeles City Council took a step closer toward possibly giving non-citizens the right to vote in city elections, agreeing to put the measure on the November 3rd ballot in a decisive 10-5 vote. The council on Wednesday approved a proposal introduced by Councilman Hugo Soto Martinez to implement non-citizen or, quote, residential voting for city and Los Angeles Unified School District elections. Oh, is that so? They're not voting in our election, just the city ones, just the local ones, just for the Unified School District School Board, just that stuff. I mean, it's not everything, just a little bit. I mean, it's a huge city, but I mean, just a little bit, right? It's not a big deal. Stop being worried about stuff. Well, they're putting it right in front of you. They know they cannot win because of this fracturing within their party. And anybody who doesn't see it needs to probably snap up and snap out of it. Okay, so I started looking. I'm like, all right, so LA City Council. How many people are on the LA City Council? Well, it's a group of 15 people. You guys want illegal immigrants to vote in your elections because you need them for you to stay in power. You need them as a conduit through which dark money circles into your campaigns. And then you can siphon off of it, invest in the stock market, buy fancy houses, whatever it is that you want to do. 15 LA City Council members. All 15 are Democrats. Last time, in fact, LA had a Republican City Council member was 8 years ago, 2018. Okay? All Democrats. So I was like, it sounds an awful lot like where I live, Pittsburgh. How many Pittsburgh City Council members are all Democrats? Nine representatives, 9 city council members in my city. All of them are Democrats. Well, okay. What about Portland? Well, Portland has a city council. They have 12 members on it. What do you think? All of them are Democrats. Chicago, they have 50 older people, older persons, whatever. All 50 are Democrats. Are you guys ready? Because I'm going to keep going. You ready? Baltimore, 15 city council members. All are Democrats. Seattle, 9 council members. All Democrats. Denver, 13 city council members. All are Democrats. San Francisco has a board of supervisors, 11 people. What do you think? Yeah, I'm going to go with all are Democrat. That's right. Boston, 13 city council members, all Democrat. East Lansing, Michigan, 5 city council members, all Democrat. Jersey City Council. These are all, by the way, sanctuary cities. 9 city council members, all Democrats. New Orleans, 7, all Democrats. Cleveland, 15 members, all Democrats. Are you catching my drift? Because I'm almost done. St. Louis has a board of aldermen as well, 14. All of them are Democrat. Detroit City Council, 9 people, all Democrat. Now, Philadelphia, who thought Philadelphia would be that bright light shining on the hill? Philadelphia has 17 city council members. Only 16 are Democrat. There's one schmuck, one Republican sitting there like the ultimate ass. What? And New Yorkers, 46 are Democrats. So it's almost like Democrats ruin our cities. Democrat mayors allow Democrat city council people to do ridiculous things, to say in a 10-5 vote, we think illegal aliens should totally vote. Look, if somebody's here and they've been here for 20 years and they're not a citizen yet, but they're paying taxes into our system, they should be able to vote. Why didn't they become a citizen? We have rules and laws. I guess the rules and the laws only apply to people that you don't like. And because you do like that hot pool of humanity called illegals, and you've been giving them a bunch of stuff and you promised them a bunch of stuff to come over and be here, you needed to continue, right? So we're going to let you vote. This is in the United States of America. Do the people of Los Angeles realize that this just happened? Do the people of Los Angeles realize that in this amazing last minute, like mail-in surge of votes for Nithya Raman to take the number 2 spot after Karen Bass, to be the only 1 and 2 runoff for the next mayor of Los Angeles, that all of the people who voted for Nithya Raman, like 30,000 people who didn't know who she was, all of a sudden super horny to vote for her. And they all also want higher taxes. Isn't that crazy how that works? That thing that was going to get sunk because nobody in LA wants more taxes, not even the freaking rich. And you're supposed to believe, no. It was the weirdest thing. All these people just kind of came out of nowhere. And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so silly. I forgot my mail-in ballot. Let me fill it out right now. Nithya Raman, totally, duh. And this bill that's going to make it, or this whatever measure that's going to raise our sales tax from 9.75% to 10.5% or 10.25%. That sounds perfect. See, this is how it happens. Don't go blaming President Trump for inflation. Don't look at your neighborhood Republican and be like, because of you, gas prices are high. Look at your local neighborhood Democrat, especially if you live in a suck sanctuary city, because sanctuary is not for you. You're the piggy bank, right? You're the sucker who's got to pay for it. You're just giving sanctuary to every misfit, ne'er-do-well, victim, box-checking person that the Democrats can squish under their tent under the required amount of time and then basically bribe them to vote Democrat. They ruin your cities. They defund the police. They give sanctuary to criminals. They fight more for illegal aliens who wish to do you harm than they fight for you and your family. They allow your children to be groomed in school. They look the other way when your child graduates completely illiterate, and yet they want 4 more years. Karen Bass, by golly, I didn't know it was going to be such an uphill battle. But now I think I kind of got it. I totally deserve 4 more years. Now, if that sounds reasonable to you, don't be blaming President Trump. Look in the mirror, because I got news for you. You're the problem. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, this thing going on in California, beyond that, this thing going on with Matt Vespa, with Red State, one of the writers there, he rakes CNN for being such an enemy of integrity. The algae in the reflecting pool at the Lincoln Memorial. They went to test it, but they didn't go test any of the fraud. They didn't go test Hunter Biden's laptop or Joe Biden's mental acuity. But the algae guys, they're all over it. I got it for you next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
All righty. More examples of Democrat cheating. As we've talked about in the chat, that's the only way they can win.
They're trying to figure out, okay.
You have a few idiots out there that continue to vote Democrat, but the only way they can maintain a majority is by cheating their asses off, as we've talked about in the chat.
Hey, what's cool with his in Washington, D.C., algae in the system, a damn. Okay. Chronicled
Here we go.
One of my favorite writers is Matt Vespa over at Town Hall. I'd said Red State. He's over at townhall.com, and he's hilarious. But he rightly takes umbrage with CNN all of a sudden coming out of the woodwork to test the algae, test the water in the newly refurbished, repainted, and refilled Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool. And we've chronicled the timeline, how Trump got in some folks and did it under budget, certainly ahead of schedule, unlike the Barack Hussein Obama library, which is just a damn nightmare. But apparently there's this algae that has gone all over the place, and they're trying to figure out, okay, what's going on? Was there algae in the system before? Did somebody dump it in? Is there something wrong with the pH? And if you've ever watched a pool guy, come up with his little plastic thing and get down on a knee and scoop up some of the water from the pool and shake it, add some drops to it. That's exactly what this CNN reporter did yesterday in Washington, D.C., which is freaking hilarious because these are people who can't be trifled to get out of their little cubicles in their newsrooms to go out and use common sense and see what the hell's going on the streets of America. They're in this bubble of liberal media bias. We hate Trump. Anything we can do to hate Trump more is the new agenda. Unless it has to do with this algae, which of course makes them hate Trump more. So this is what Matt Vespa writes, and it's hilarious. We're going to play a little bit of the audio clip of this chick, this news babe, doing a little algae research. Matt Vespa writes, wait, we've had months of stories about widespread fraud in Minnesota. We have reports of Medicaid fraud in Ohio, right? But CNN chose to focus intensely on the algae in the reflecting pool. Are you serious? This isn't a credible network. And now that Paramount has acquired Warner Brothers, there's a chance that CBS News editor-in-chief Bari Weiss might be appointed to oversee editorial decisions. It would trigger another liberal meltdown. But sorry, CNN, acting like the Japanese on Okinawa over algae is the peak of anti-Trump media stunts. Not only that, these idiots had the water tested. Let's get that audio clip for you. This is ridiculous. Listen.
And we're going to scoop up a water sample to see if we can get this tested.
CNN independently took the sample of water and consulted with a pool store that regularly tests water to help read the results. It showed phosphate levels far higher than what is recommended to keep algae at bay based on estimates for a pool that holds 6.5 million gallons of water.
If there's already some phosphate fertilizer in the water, that's really opportunistic, especially for the blue-green algae that can fix nitrogen. So they are having a field day out here, probably.
The Department of Interior says they believe some of the initial problem was residual algae that had accumulated in pipes and insists the filtration system called the ozone nanobubbler is working.
So to the shock of nobody, it had algae in it. Like, what are we doing? They've already pre-treated the water with bleach. It's going to get cleaned up, right? You can't get over the fact that they had water in the reflecting pool tested, but nobody at CNN was interested in the slightest in Hunter Biden's laptop. No, that's Russian disinformation. 51 former law enforcement intelligence officers told me, just like 17 Nobel laureates in economics told me that inflation under Joe Biden is a little temporary. It's going to be transitory, right? This is the state of journalism today. And CNN apparently doesn't realize, because it's so deeply ensconced in its own bubble of suck, that nobody's watching them. Did you guys say, and we're going to say this for kind of towards the end of the program, but it's hilarious. CNN puts out a poll about how many people are watching CNN, and it ain't a whole lot, guys. So then the Trump administration, I mean, literally, if all you have as a news outlet is anything that you can scrounge up to somehow belittle Trump, demean the work of his administration, mock the hours upon hours they put in diplomacy, rail on this whole notion that, God forbid, we should have company or countries pay us for their privilege to sell their wares to us, that if, God forbid, we should drill, baby, drill and get everybody's oil and sell it and bring down costs here at home, that somehow those stories to rail on anything positive that this administration is doing, that's it, even if it's algae. Now, this is kind of interesting because the Washington Examiner has a different take. They say Trump's Interior Department heralds algae treatment in the reflecting pool, comparing it to the destroyed Iranian army. Sometimes the best medicine is not just some treatment for algae, but it's to have fun at the expense of miserable leftists who long ago forgot what it was like to have any sense of humor or any kind of joy. The Department of Interior declared victory this morning in its war against algae at the Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool and celebrated by comparing the cleanup to the destruction of the Iranian Navy. The reflecting pool took a vivid shade of green earlier this week, yada, yada, yada. They say the advanced nano bubbler technology very effectively killed the algae, and it's all going to be cleaned up in no time. The reflecting pool, the water is crystal clear. It's coming out again, and everything's going to be A-OK. What you're seeing, obviously, is just temporary. This whole hoopla over Iran is temporary, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm going to submit to you, it in fact is a trap. What the president has put out as a memorandum of understanding, signing what I believe is something the Iranian clerics, mullahs, whatever, whomever the people are, will never be able to abide by. Like a fat person with ho-hos. Can't step away. Oh boy, when we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, my friends. Let's talk about Gavin Newsom. He made it to the top of my leaderboard today. He even pushed out Iran. I'll tell you why next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
All righty then. All right. Well, when I was watching this earlier today and setting up my video for tonight, I mean, when she comes on, I listen to her and try to get it set up so that's past the beginning, the opening, because they're actually off the air when this video first starts. It just had the thumbnail. You could hear them talking in the background, and they were talking, oh, what's going on? Why isn't this working? But I guess after they finished, somehow they got it working. But when I watched it well past this point, and all they had was their thumbnail. Let me come over here and show you here. That was on, and you could hear them talking behind the screen, but that's all you saw. But as I said, I guess they got it fixed. So, they had some technical difficulties, just like I have sometimes. So there you have it. All right, let me. thank you from Viper Senior. Thank you for the great content as always. Thank you for being here, Viper. Thank you for supporting me. That means a ton to me. All of you that have chatted and comment. Yeah, that all is fantastic. Let me copy this chat into the comment so it will be a permanent part of this video. Boom, there we go. All right, and remind you that these videos that I've shared with you are videos that come directly from the producers. Okay, I've got the links to the videos in the description box as well as the links to the producer's channel. So you can go check them out if they have any more additional information you might like. And the videos that I've shared with you here are videos that I post on MIDTERMS.com. Right there's the ACLJ video that I shared with you. Right down here's the Dr. Steve Turley video that I shared with you. The Matt Morse TV video that I shared with you. And here's the Wendy Bell video that I shared with you. Now, I've got, as I said, over 40 videos here. The link to MIDTERMS.com is in the description box. If you'd like to go over there and check that out, it's a free site. I don't ask for your name. I don't ask for your email address. I don't drop cookies on your computer and sell your information. I don't ask you to sign up for a newsletter. I don't have a bunch of ads popping up in your face. All I have is no nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth. I would like to share all of that information with you, but unfortunately I don't have the time to do so. But that's why I've put together my MIRTEC Daily News Wrap-Up playlist. It says I have 22 videos in here. We're going to take off where we left off with Wendy Bell Radio. Then we're going to jump to We the People News, X22 Report, Greg Hunter, Disclosure Day, and Attack on Christian Faith with Steve Quayle. The Steve Deace Show, On the Fringe, Barry Cunningham, And We Know, Dan Bongino. A ton of information here, folks. But for right now, go ahead and take a break. Grab a cup of coffee and a donut or a sandwich and a soft drink or a beer. Maybe a nice glass of wine and some cheese, and give me about 15 or 20 minutes. Meet me back here so I can get this set up in Rumble Studio, and we'll take off with this. But in the meantime, I do want to thank you for being here. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later, and may God bless.